I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2+ kids' rights.
The fact is, there was something that was really monumental that occurred, and that is Tony, the original members.
You guys didn't kill people who went after our troops. You killed 10 civilians, including 7 children. So does the president still think these over-the-horizon strikes can work?
Absolutely.
Jen, a follow-up question on Haiti. There are photographs and reports of border agents on horseback using what appear to be whips on Haitian migrants. Does the administration view that as an appropriate tactic? Can you speak to that? There are people who are upset about it.
Yeah, understandably so. I've seen some of the footage. I don't have the full context. I can't imagine what context would make that appropriate.
Okay, so this is what I need, and I don't know whether this is directed to North Korea, China, India, Pakistan, or Russia, or right here to whatever the new version of NORAD is. I need an ICBM launched on our location right here, and I need this to be destroyed. I need to be completely vaporized, please, and then proceed to nuke the rest of the Earth. This Earth is done. We're done. It's over. We're finished. We kind of had a good run, depending. Never did really get jetpacks that worked. Never did get a transporter or the holodeck. And that's that. Never. I was sold a bill of goods. Told that that high school would be like high school in the movie Grease, and it didn't pan out for me personally that way. But that's where we are right now, and so what we have happening, I don't even know. Okay. So what you've got the media and other people trying to create a narrative that there are cowboys at the border whipping Haitians, which is fine. That's fine. This is being.
What reality do people live in? Can you imagine the foaming at the mouth if this had happened under Trump?
Oh my goodness! Somehow they've got to try to bring it around.
Oh, I did see a few Twitter comments of people being like, Trump must have trained them or something.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, you got it. This is too good. There's the still shots as well. You can make a still shot look like anything you want it to.
Right.
Anything. I remember last year, a year and a half ago, at some town meeting, a woman was having a conversation with the young guy. I think it was about immigration. I think he was Hispanic, and she was an American white woman. Mm-hmm. And they had a healthy conversation, but it looks like she's yelling at him, so people destroyed her life. Found her where she worked, found her what she did, destroyed her life. She had to change her life or lost her job, whatever. Mm-hmm. And the kid came up with a bunch more shots and said, we just were having a good conversation. Nobody yelled at anybody. I don't know why you guys destroyed her life. You know, he was on the other side of the issue, but still. But, I mean, it's crazy.
Or like the Larry Elder picture when the person in the gorilla mask threw eggs at him, and the photo that the LA Times put on the cover was like, Larry Elder in altercation with public, and like they chose a photo of him where he's like going to hug this woman who's a supporter of his, but his like arm is reaching out in front of her, so in the photo it looks like he's like hitting her across the face.
Oh, that's perfect.
So it's like, of course they can always find a picture. You can make a still shot that looks like a lot of different things.
Well, sure, but this one is too good because it shows, and there's video, and this kid who I knew. Was there any doubt in your mind that any millennial age kid named Sawyer is a total and utter complete fucking pussy? Was there ever in your mind any thought that would be something that wasn't a truth?
I don't judge in that way.
Only Just Generation has Sawyers and Oakleys, Alice, and it ain't great.
I think that's a direct attack on someone.
No, is it?
That's 2 names of the kids of a particular person that we know.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
I don't think she listens to the show, so I think you're safe.
Okay, good. Hopefully Sawyer doesn't listen. I'm sorry, Sawyer, if I've said something that's hurt your feelings. But that is just absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Hold on, let me just make sure I get all my octane here. So yes,
We wouldn't want to miss out on any of your octane.
yeah, you don't want to
Hit us with the octane.
make sure I have full opacity here as far as my voice goes, because this board is always having a static charge, or I don't know. So anyway, so this is too good. I don't even know where to start here. At the border, there's this video that shows the Cowboys are in there now. The Border Patrol is down there now, because there's at least 10,000 Haitians who now live in Texas, unbeknownst to anybody. And they're going back and forth, and the one part of the Border Patrol folks are on horses, which I think is probably good, because the horses are fairly amphibious, I think. They can go into the water, and they can go onto the land, and
they go faster than people, so you can chase people down, stuff like that.
Exactly. But one of the guys is whipping around the horse's rein, and so the media has decided that what's happening now are Trumpy Border Patrol people are just whipping Haitians for recreation on the southern border, including this guy who works for, what's his name? Sawyer Hackett, who works for Julian Castro, whatever Castro's still in Congress. And he had tweeted, so many people are doing this, and he's kept it up there. He has tweeted, Border Patrol is mounted on horseback, rounding up Haitian refugees with whips. This is unfathomable cruelty towards people fleeing disaster and political ruin. The administration must stop this. And he's got all the still pictures there where you see one of the guys on the horseback who's not whipping anybody has a Haitian guy by his T-shirt, and some other guys are just holding the reins of their... What's precisely happening is that men on horses aren't whipping people. But because this kid is some millennial wussbag or a zoomer, anything that can in his mind be seen as what he thinks is the reality of this awful world he lives in, as a horrible crime against humanity is. So now Sawyer Hackett, has decided, and he's tweeted all this stuff out, and he's kept these tweets up. There's not whipping happening. And that would be fine if it was just Sawyer Hackett.
Oh, it's everyone. So I thought you had asked me if I'd seen this, and I said, yeah, I sent it to you because I thought I had sent you Sawyer, but I actually sent you Ryan Devereaux from The Intercept, who tweeted, Border Patrol agents on horseback cracking whips and charging into crowds of Haitian asylum seekers in Texas, shouting at them to go back to Mexico.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness, where would that come from? Go back to Mexico. What they were trying to get them to do is return to Mexico. So I don't know how you want them to say that. What words are these whip-wielding Trumpies allowed to use when they're trying to tell people to go back to Mexico? Because that's what they're trying to do. But we're so on a hair trigger for racism and, unfathomable crimes,
right,
that we're imagining, oh, that's what it is. That's a slur. It's either a dangerous meme or a slur. Go back to Mexico. You know what that means? Yeah, it means if it's an off-color thing you say to the guy who's selling burritos on the corner in L.A. because you're a bigot, that's one thing. When you're telling the Haitians to go back to Mexico, then that doesn't really work. There are bigoted phrases and commands out there. It doesn't really work if you say, yeah, go back to Mexico with your sombreros.
Right.
These are Haitian guys.
They're conflating the thing that sometimes people say, like, to people who live in America, normal, like, if you say to an American citizen with Mexican heritage, go back to Mexico, then that's, like, not an appropriate thing to say. But the Border Patrol agents letting asylum seekers know that they have to return back across the border.
Yes.
That's not a racist or an inappropriate thing to say. They're the Border Patrol, so they're allowed to tell people that they can't cross the border. That's part of their job.
That's not a slur. In that case, they literally mean go back to Mexico over there. And they mean
you just crossed, now cross back.
Right. And they could also tell them that once you go back to Mexico, I'm going back to America, and those would be both factually true things. But anyway, it's just the idea that we're really going with this. That this is what just tells me that everything's a joke. Everything is...
They're cracking their whips at them.
Cracking. Everything is just simply theater. Everything was. It's theater. Oh, it's another melodrama I can get myself involved in. Oh my God, look what we're doing. We're cracking, we're beating them down. Oh my goodness. And of course it's happening in, where is this, Texas?
Mm-hmm. Del Rio.
Texas. Greg
Yeah.
Abbott, Texas, Trump, no vaccines. Texas is one of the places that will not vaccine people, that is forcing people to
Greg
wear...
Abbott's been telling people
Greg
not
Abbott-
to, I assume.
Greg Abbott has been telling, not only that, but I've been seeing Greg Abbott in his wheelchair that he got. He doesn't even need it. He just has it because he's evil.
Oh.
You know? He has it just because...
That is very, like, super villainy of him.
It totally is. And he just the off chance that he can run somebody over with it. That's why he has it. But I've seen him taking fistful of masks, dunking them in buckets of COVID, and forcing the kids to wear these.
Maybe that's why he's had 3 vaccinations himself, is he's just trying to hog them so to make sure that nobody in Texas gets vaccinated.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. So that's where we are. Now, it's so... I'm going to play this cut again. This is the White House press corps. The White House press corps, and they're very upset. And they need their house mother, Jen, to tell them everything's okay, because they're very upset. Now, there was a time when the White House press corps would be made up of men who had recently just spent time in Okinawa or, fighting in Korea or Vietnam or even working the gruff, crime-ridden streets of a big metropolis who had really seen some life. That's not these people. These people are all... This entire White House press corps is Sawyer Hackett. And so they're all upset. And they need Jen, who's usually their ice cream friend, they need their ice cream friend to make them feel good about what they're seeing, because they're not sure...
Yes, please find a way to explain to us why Trump did this,
Yes,
Jen.
because we just saw images that are very disturbing, and we think that they're of Haitians being whipped by cowboys. Which totally makes sense. Absolutely. When I think of a cowboy, I think he's going to whip Haitians. That's absolutely the thing. It's the same way, absolutely, I think, when I think of 3 in the morning in -10 degree weather in Chicago on the south side, I think there's got to be Trump supporters looking to beat up black TV stars there. You know, and so
And they carry a noose with them. A tiny noose.
Right, a noose which looked like twine when I saw it, and I thought, that is remarkably weak-looking noose. I don't know what it was meant to do, other than slightly abrase somebody, because it's not a... Anyway, but that's fine, because we want to believe it. And these people now want to believe we're beating kids. We're beating them on the border. And now we're in the odd position of being spectators of all this stuff, because... Really, the person doing the beating is technically Biden. This is Biden's America.
It's the Border Patrol, so they're under his auspices, not
Right.
Greg Abbott.
And so seeing this mass hysteria and this, I don't know, this voluntary illusion become reality is mildly interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what must it be like to go through life and, like, just need to see something that's not there? Like, imagine something that's not happening and, like, need it to be a thing. I mean, like, even when Trump was president and people were doing, like, really unhinged stuff because they thought Trump was, like, really going to round people up and send them to camps or whatever. Like,
yes.
I remember there was this news article about some, like, pastor in California or something who started building, like, a secret room in his basement because he thought he was going to be, like, sheltering people from Trump, like Anne Frank or whatever. And so, and I thought at the time, I'm like, wow, like, some of these people are, like, really unhinged from reality and, like, and they're, like, living in their own fantasy universe. But, like, at least, like, Trump at that time was the president, so there was some kind of, like, basis in reality for, not that Trump was gonna, like, but Trump was, like, running the Border Patrol. So you could conceivably say that, like, Trump was the bad guy if you didn't like the images from the border. But now they're, like, now this is just, like, crazy town. They're just, they're dealing with a narrative here that's, like, I mean, Biden, the good guy in the narrative, is in charge of the Border Patrol. So their brains are just, like, breaking. Yeah,
this is the start. This is the time when my dog was in the car with the AC on. When the crazy woman came over and said, "You better open the window for that dog," even though the AC was on. The dog was in the car with the AC on. And had I was having dinner with a friend, had we opened the windows, 100-degree weather would have gone in and they killed the dog. It didn't matter. That's what she wanted to see. She wanted to see that. And so to her, it was absolutely true. And just like, you know what it is? It's just like when Trump won in towns like ours provided counseling to kids,
Right.
saying, I understand this election has been very difficult time. If you want to do counseling, feel for...
I noticed they didn't do that after Biden won.
No.
The school didn't offer anybody
No,
any
but although
counseling.
probably after January 6th, probably.
Oh, I'm sure they
For the
did. Yeah, that's
insurrection.
true.
People want to believe that there was an insurrection. They want to believe it. I mean, you would only take a second to say somebody should have brought a gun if it's an insurrection here and these people don't. But and they would have had it been an insurrection, but it wasn't, so they didn't. But still, I mean, this is crazy. It's crazy. So this is what they want to believe. So here's our press corps at work. Most of these people have gone to really good colleges, have excellent degrees, probably got good grades in high school, and really think that they are really good people. And they look at heroes and say, you know what? That's what we are too. We're just like them. That's right. We are, right, guys? Right. All right. Here's the press. Being very upset because they think they might have possibly seen something that looks like it could have been possibly a whip at the border and a cowboy. Cowboys at the border whipping people, which seems totally plausible.
Jen, a follow-up question on Haiti. There are photographs and reports of border agents on horseback using what appear to be whips on Haitian migrants. Does the administration view that as an appropriate tactic? Can you speak to that?
First of all, Dumbcoff, before we go any further, what appeared to be whips, wouldn't you... First of all, there's probably nobody in the newsroom who's ever been near anything so manly as somebody actually doing something on a horse for work, using the horse as a tool, as a vehicle, in their jobs. So they've never ever seen, they can't imagine. And so none of them can identify a whip. Looks like it could be a whip. I guess it looks like it could be a whip.
A lot of things look like they could be a whip.
So they run into as if...
I mean, when they go to the gym and people are using resistance bands, do they think it could be a whip, possibly?
Yes. Well, these are the kind of people...
Like
Alice,
anything could be a whip.
You make a very good point.
A bungee cord that you have in the back of your car could look potentially like it might be a whip. I mean,
the first
what
thing
do
they're
you
doing
do?
is saying, how can I make this thing... And you're right, it's a resistance bands. How can I make this thing look like a noose or a whip in my mind? I need it to look like those things so that we can have an incident here and I can start hyperventilating again. But nobody else in the press room, like before he went there, said, "Hey, by the way, you don't have to ask Psaki that question, guys. It's just the reins of a cowboy, and I don't want us to look stupid. These are Border Patrol people on horseback. They do
Well, but
stuff."
of course they're not going to tell them that because the main goal of the publication is to drive people to their website to look at the stories they're publishing. And if they publish a hysterical story that the Border Patrol is whipping people, then a lot of people are going to look at that story and the publication's going to make money.
Well, I understand that, Alice, but it's pretty important that the Border Patrol then be whipping people. Because if not...
No, it's not. Not to the publications that are in charge of the people in the White House press corps. It's not.
Well,
have they shown a lot of concern with that as a press corps in general over the last couple of years?
Well, no. I mean, the Trump rules, of course. No, this would be open and shut already. This would be...
There would be bodies, dead bodies lying there from
He'd be impeached, yeah. Well, they set up all sorts of camera BS, too.
Did you see what Jamal Bowman tweeted about it, by the way?
Who's that?
He's the guy, congressman, who kind of joined the squad this year after
no, I
he got
haven't.
elected.
I haven't.
He said, "We are still whipping black bodies in 2021. Shame on us as a nation for our inhumanity."
Oh, God.
We're still whipping black bodies. How is that not a dehumanizing way to talk about black people? They're not black bodies, they're black people. Like, I don't understand the bodies language.
Well,
I think it's so weird.
Also, Alice, there's also the thing that we're not whipping them.
I mean, tiny detail.
We're still not whipping black bodies.
But in fairness to Jamal Bowman, the media is saying that we're whipping black bodies.
People who are upset about it.
Yeah, understandably so. I've seen some of the footage. I don't have the full context. I can't imagine what context would make that appropriate, but I don't have additional details. And certainly, I don't have additional context, April. I don't think anyone seeing that footage would think it was acceptable or appropriate.
I want to follow up on the question about Haitians and it's specifically these photos that are surfacing on Border Patrol agents seemingly using whips. I know you said that there's no context that it would be seen as inappropriate, so the question really is, why would this be happening under the Biden administration?
Why would the Border Patrol seemingly be using whips? Which, of course, they're not doing, seemingly or in reality whatsoever. But they're not. To us, it looks whippish, and that to us is scary, and it's a scary scene. And so make us believe it's like our own, if one of our 3-year-old has a nightmare and bursts into our room and you have to reassure him everything's all reassure us. It seemingly looked like a whip.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and take a wild guess that there probably were not any whips in the possession of any Border Patrol agents. I mean, like, I don't think they outfit them with whips.
Guys, let's get to whipping. It seems like it's counterproductive. There's a lot of cameras around.
I mean, do they think the Biden administration was like, okay, guys, everyone has a whip? And like, I mean,
you know
unless
crazy?
somebody
you know
brought their
crazy?
own whip from home, but like, it just seems weird.
You know, it'd be interesting if they all had steel chains.
Oh my gosh!
And the old razor blade that you'd rub against the thing, all the stuff, all the implements used in the corn pop story. If they all had those,
it's going to stop. What would I wonder, sort of, what are going to be the consequences if what we're seeing is what we're seeing?
I mean, Yamiche, it's all good questions.
If what we're seeing, that we're not sure what we're seeing, is the worst case scenario of what we're seeing, what will, in the hypothetical, the consequences be to what we're seeing?
In imaginary land,
right,
where Border Patrol agents are whipping black bodies, are you going to fire them or maybe just tell them like to not do that in the future? What's the plan?
You know what the thing is, Alice? Is that the reason they're doing this is because they've developed this muscle, and this is the reflex that they developed during Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So they see this, and it's too good. They've been trained. When this happens, you go, you attack, you go with this.
Can you imagine how excited the photographer must have been getting the shots of
oh, yeah, the whippy ones. You know,
yeah.
He threw those out there. There's all sorts of incentives for photogs now to sell stuff, too, to newspapers to sell their...
Because he took, like, a whole series of shots, like, one right after each other, like, click, 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 and, like...
Yeah.
And he picked out of the series of, like, 12 photos, which ones...
12? They
hold the button down and then like he's like picking which ones to put in the newspaper.
Yes,
we haven't seen the whole like range of what was going on.
And the funny thing is like if you were to take an action shot of somebody holding somebody else by a t-shirt and that person's holding two like Stop and Shop grocery bags, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
In actuality. But there's a stringy thing there.
We just saw this footage. It's horrible to watch. I just have to get more information.
It's horrible to watch?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think happens when you're dealing with an overflow, an invasion at the border? That's what's horrible to watch? The enforcement of your failures?
Right.
My God.
On it.
Again,
April, I don't have more information on it. I've also seen the video. I can't imagine what the scenario...
Hey, you benefited. You wanted her to be an activist for years under Trump. She became an activist for you, and now you're dealing with the activists that you cultivated over the years. And it's April, and it's Yamiche, and it's Brian Karam, and it's every other one in there is now an activist. You created these activists, and they're turning on you because, hey, they know only one currency.
Scenario is where that would be appropriate. I'm certainly not suggesting that, but we've just seen the footage earlier this morning.
On the photo, I know you said that you're still assessing it, but just to add, if this is what we see, is it the president's stance or the White House's stance that whoever these border agents are using what seems to be whips on migrants, that they would be fired or at least never be able to do that again?
Of course they should never be able to do it again. I don't know what the circumstances would be. It's obviously horrific, the footage. I don't have any more information on it, so let me venture to do that, and we'll see if there's more to convey.
So are you going to let them keep whipping people, or like, how is that the question? It's literally like, when did you stop beating your wife?
Yes,
it's literally like, so are you going to, like, are they going to be allowed to keep doing this or no? And she's like, I don't know. Well,
Right, and they're about to be in trouble, reprimanded for not whipping somebody, but being in a position where it could be misconstrued.
I can't wait to hear the explanation from Jen, like tomorrow or whenever this
Well,
is.
you know that every one of these border agents is going to get themselves onto Fox News one way or another.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, they are getting drunk with your boyfriend, Bill Malugin, and they are talking about all this stuff. And you know what? I'm going to wager a bet, Alice.
I bet some of them already have the pictures framed.
I am going to bet, Alice, that some of these border agents might be what the left calls brown people. Is that possible?
I think odds are for that in Texas.
Right. So I get the feeling that what we're about to see is people who, just when they needed them, were just called brown people by the left.
Or Latinx.
Right. They're about to lose the brown people status and be kicked over to Whiteville.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that particular area, Del Rio, like how it went for Trump, because I know that southern Texas, like parts of Florida, was one of the big areas where the Hispanic vote moved very strongly in favor of Trump. In 2020 compared to 2016, and certainly compared to previous years. It's interesting, like, for the most racist president who was going to ruin the GOP with minorities forever, how much Trump moved the needle with minorities towards the GOP. But and it's truly like things like that. Like, I think that a lot of people who are immigrants don't like people who abuse the system and get into the country ahead of them and jump the line when they've worked their butts off to, like, do the right thing and take the citizenship test and all the stuff. Like, it's annoying when somebody comes in and just gets a spot by walking across the border and not showing up for their court date. You know, it's frustrating to people who, like, do the right thing.
Of course. No, absolutely. All right, so most, let's say that there were 80 questions asked in today's press briefing, and you just heard the 80th, the last smattering was a few. 76 of those 80 were asked by Peter Doocy, who today was in a specially bleep-eating mood. And you'll hear why. I mean, he's got a lot to be...
Well, there's blood in the water. The administration is floundering.
And they've got to eat this bleep sandwich. Here we go. Here's the Peter Doocy show.
Where's the vice president on any of this? Isn't she supposed to be addressing the root causes of migration?
I can tell you she's going on The View Friday, so I assume the ladies on The View are really going to put it to her on what's happening at the border, since that's her baby.
Absolutely, and she has been addressing the root causes of migration by working with countries in the region to ensure they have the assistance they need to reduce the number of people who are coming and trying to make those journeys across the border. We've actually seen some reductions in some of those numbers. That doesn't change the...
How about Del Rio under the bridge? How about, has there been reductions there? Because it seems to me there's a lot of people down there. Has she been dealing with the root causes of Haiti?
That this is a very challenging situation in Del Rio. We're working to implement our policies, and we're working to ensure we are also addressing root causes.
And just 6 more, he says, essentially.
A question about what's going on at the border. Is somebody asking the foreign nationals who are walking into Del Rio, Texas, and setting up camps on this side of the border for proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test?
Well, first of all, I can readdress for you or re-talk you through what steps we take.
She is going through her folder right now to just try to snow him to death, to make the video clip so unsavory with all her bureaucratic bull bleep that's in the folder that nobody will use it. But she knows she has to take the punch, and she knows that it's a really good question. And it goes to the complete credibility of the COVID pandemic approach by this administration.
Policy for people who fly into the country. So if somebody walks into the country right across the river, does somebody ask them to see their vaccination card?
Well, let me explain to you again, Peter, how our process works. As individuals come across the border, and they are both assessed for whether they have any symptoms. If they have symptoms, the intention is.
By the way, you know what you don't hear that you did hear when they were talking about the Cowboys whipping people?
No. Oh, typing.
Oh yeah, yeah. The White House.
They're skipping this story.
They're not typing this one up.
For them to be quarantined, that is our process. They're not intending to stay here for a lengthy period of time. I don't think it's the same thing.
Are they not?
Oh, okay. So if it's only a weekend or 2 weeks or 3 or a month, the
COVID
droplets,
doesn't spread then?
right? It doesn't spread. It just stays sedentary. Unless
And are they only intending to be here for a short period of time?
I don't think so. I don't think they checked it out, thought it was subpar, and are heading back to Haiti.
It's not the same thing. These are individuals, as we've noted and as we've been discussed. We are expelling individuals based on Title 42 specifically because of COVID, because we want to prevent a scenario where large numbers of people are gathering, posing a threat to the community and also to the migrants themselves. So those are the policies that we put in place, in large part because, again, the CDC continues to recommend Title 42 be in place given we're facing a global pandemic.
Yeah, and the courts have thrown it out and they can't do that anymore because the ACLU sued them. So in a couple weeks, that's going to go into effect where they can't do the Title 42 expulsions anymore, which is a problem because people aren't not coming anymore.
What do you mean? They're handling it. They said they're handling it right now. They're on it. Absolutely. All right. Where should we continue? Okay. Here's Doocy. This is talk about another one where she's got to eat it. He says the stuff, the messaging that she can't. It is completely untenable. He puts it in a way that somebody who does communications and messaging for a living would find horrific and just something so unpalatable. But he puts it to her perfectly.
Back to the drone strike. You said last month our over-the-horizon capacity can work and has worked in going after ISIS targets and killing people who went after our troops, but you guys didn't kill people who went after our troops. You killed 10 civilians, including 7 children. So does the president still think these over-the-horizon strikes can work?
You guys didn't kill people who were going after troops. You killed a family and children. And she's got to eat that pile of bleep and try to get through it. So out comes the folder, obviously.
Absolutely. And I will just reiterate, as our Secretary of Defense conveyed,
Here it comes.
as General McKenzie conveyed, that there was a serious mistake. The Secretary of Defense has authorized, as I noted before, a thorough review of the investigation just completed by U.S. Central Command, including the degree to which the investigation considered all available context and information, the degree to which accountability measures need to be taken, at which level, and the degree to which strike authorities proceed.
If the left would be saying, when did they know it? And I think we know that they knew it when everybody else knew it, which was immediately.
Well, right. And probably, they haven't said this, but I'm going to suppose here that they were working, because we didn't have people out there on the ground, they were working with information given to them by the Taliban, who said, oh yeah, those ISIS K people blew up at the airport. They're going to do another one. It's that car over there. And they were like, cool. I know. And it was probably
that one too.
It's probably like one of our interpreters or something.
Right.
Like, who knows?
And processes need to be altered in the future. That's an important process. I would note, which I noted earlier, that there's a difference between a self-defense strike, which is exactly what this was, and I would note there was one prior to this that was a successful.
Which one is the one that doesn't obliterate kids? Is that the one we can do in the future?
Is it still a self-defense strike if you hit somebody totally not involved in attacking you in any way, shape, or form? Or is that fall under a different category?
I would note that. That's right.
Self-defense strike, and those that disposing an.
See, the know-it-all West Wing thing doesn't come off all that great when everybody's witnessing a total goat bleep happen. And that's what they noticed here, and that's what they see at the border. So she can get the folder out all she wants. But
and talk in this voice.
Yes.
That, as you know, what we have seen is that there are two types of strikes, and it's acceptable. So that, I mean, like, yeah, that kind of attitude might seem cool and like a Psaki bomb if you're in the right. But when everybody can see that you just massively screwed up and killed children, then
in an
it's
attempt
a little bit
get a political win immediately.
Yeah.
You didn't think it through. You said, okay, what can we do now? I don't know. We can try to bomb something and say that it was more terrorists, and we can show that we're on top of it, that we didn't just let 13 troops die. Boom. And it blew away kids. Yay.
Imminent threat to U.S. forces who were, as we all know, on the ground at that time, facing real threats in real time, and an over-the-horizon strike, where we typically expect to have more time to assess both the threat and the potential target. That is a different approach, and it requires a different approach, and is a different approach internally, and General McKenzie spoke to that last week as well.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
The terrorists didn't give you enough time to assess the threat. That's what happened.
And now here's Doocy with the follow-up. This is the knife twist.
Some of the victims' relatives are saying that they want to be relocated here. Is that something that the administration is going to help them do?
I'm not aware of that request that ask. I'm happy to certainly speak to our national securities team and see what that process will look like.
We're condemning the Cowboys already. That's happening already. Can these people come in, though, from over there? I don't know.
I don't see how they would, since we can't even get the rest of the U.S. citizens out. And last I heard, I mean, I haven't heard anything about it on the timeline for the last couple days, but last I heard a day or two ago, people were saying all those planes are still stuck there. The Taliban's still not letting the planes take off, and they're negotiating with our State Department, and our State Department has said there's nothing else they can do. They can't do anything.
They've used every lever.
They've used every lever, so it's not possible to get the American citizens who have planes lined up by charity organizations out of the country. So no. I don't know why it would be possible to get the people out of the country that we blew up unnecessarily. So.
Correct. Then he moves on. Doocy moves on to COVID.
Just a quick one on boosters. Why did the president say in August, just remember as a simple rule, 8 months after your second shot, get a booster shot if there is not enough data to support that for the general population?
Well, what the president also said is that, I want to be very clear, the plan is pending the FDA conducting an independent evaluation of the safety and effectiveness of a third dose of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines and the CDC's advisory committee. We are right now in the week of September 20th. The advisory committee is meeting on Thursday. We've seen some recommendations that we felt was a step forward in providing more protection to people across the country, and we'll wait for that process to play out. Our objective and our role is to ensure we have the capacity, the number of shots to provide them to the American people.
We all saw and heard him say everybody needs to get your boosters and do it starting this date. We saw and heard him say that. Then suddenly the FDA said, nope, no boosters. Now she's telling us that we didn't see him say that. That's fine, unless you're looking for credibility because you're trying to get people to take vaccines for a coronavirus.
Yeah, speaking of credibility, they followed up there. We're not actually doing boosters with today. Pfizer came out. The FDA hasn't really said anything about this yet, but Pfizer came out today and said that they think they have enough information on kids 5 to 11 that the vaccination for the 5 to 11-year-olds is a huge success, and they are going to be submitting it to the FDA and other regulatory agencies globally for review for kids 5 to 11 to get the emergency use authorization for them. So I went and I read this little article that was in the AP, and to see what the data was, what it said, how successful was this, because with other ones we had the 94% efficacy after the 2 shots and the dosing regimen and blah blah blah. It is a lower dose. They studied the dose in 2,200 kids, their new smaller dose, but they didn't do a study. I mean, I presume they'll try and get this information as they go along here, but they did what's called an immune bridging study. They just looked to see in the blood work from the kids that they had an antibody reaction to the shot. There actually haven't, in the 2,200 kids that they studied, there haven't been enough cases of COVID among them so that they can say with statistical certainty that it reduces the probability of getting the illness.
Yeah, but there's 2,200.
Well, but they haven't gotten enough COVID in that group of 2,200 kids. So
don't those kids all have COVID?
No. This is the vaccine. So they gave 2,200 kids the vaccine.
Okay.
I'm not 100% clear from the language in this AP study, and I didn't read the actual Pfizer document because I'm lazy. But if the 2,200 is the ones that actually got it, or if that's just the experimental group and there's an equally sized control group. But in any case, assume it's the bigger size, right? Assume they gave 2,200 kids the actual shot, and then they gave 2,200 kids a fake shot, right? That doesn't have anything in it, and then, say like 5 kids get COVID in one group and 3 get it in the other group. That's like not statistically significant. You can't say anything because it's such low numbers. You need like over a certain amount of kids to get COVID, at least in the control group, before you can say with any certainty that the shot worked. So if a bunch of the kids that got the fake shot haven't gotten COVID, you can't say the shot's effective yet. What they can do is they can take blood work from those kids and they can say, oh, they have antibodies, so they will be immune. But they don't really know if they're they don't really know how much more immune they are than kids that didn't get the shot, because so few kids who didn't get the shot have gotten COVID too. Like they can't really, there's like not enough COVID to show an effect amongst kids. So that's kind of a problem for them. They are still doing that study, and they're hoping to have enough COVID cases. They haven't proven a benefit, is the long story short. And then the study, here's the next paragraph of the AP article. The study isn't large enough to detect extremely rare side effects, such as heart inflammation that sometimes occurs after the second dose, mostly in young men. So, and that's about, like, if you're a young man after the second dose, you have about a 1 in 6,000 chance of getting myocarditis, which is a heart condition. Usually not fatal, but I mean, it can be, but usually not fatal, and it could have some long-term impacts. You can also get myocarditis like from having a virus or whatever, so, but there's definitely, they've definitely now seen in young men in particular after that second shot a very elevated risk comparatively of myocarditis. So, and this study is too small. They can't, because that's like a 1 in 6,000 chance. They might not see that in this study of 2,000 kids, if that's happening. But once you vaccinate 1 million kids, you will see it happening, right? So essentially, right now at this moment, they haven't really proven a benefit, and they have not proven that there's not side effects.
Okay.
So I'm going to hold off a little bit on that. I'll wait till other people give it to their kids, and we'll see what happens to them, and then we'll see. That's my take on the kids' shots.
Thank you very much, Alice.
Why are you mad at me? Jeez.
I am. I think that I feel selfish. Then that the 4 takeaway sentences were accompanied by much more content, and I feel selfish that I hogged it all and didn't leave any of it for the 1570 project, which you're late on, by the way.
I am very late on the 1570
But she has not given up. We're going to still be doing that.
Yes.
Maybe we should have me on.
I have lots of things to say. I can do the 1570 project. What I need is, since I'm a single parent, some kind of babysitter to watch my kids so that I can do the 1570 project.
Wait a second. You're married
I have plenty of things to say.
I know you have plenty of things to say. I got a text about it. People are looking for you. People like you more than me for whatever reason.
I don't think that's true.
Well, I mean, within reason. All right, so what I want to get to Alice, you look beautiful, by the way. I can't tell how plunging your neckline is because your computer's blocking it.
Okay, well, it's on the video. You can watch the YouTube video later.
Okay, is it plunging?
It's a tiny bit plunging.
J-Lo plunging?
No, not J-Lo plunging.
Make it J-Lo plunging,
No.
Alice. That was in good taste. You want Malugin to notice you, Alice? You're gonna have to
I don't want Malugin to notice me. Thank you. I have enough. I have all the man I can handle in my life right now.
Hey, you guys heard that. All right. You don't have Tony in your life, Alice. And we talked, or maybe we didn't, but last Friday, Thursday, the mayor, San Fran mayor, London Breed, was at a club, even though they've got very strict COVID rules where if you're going to be inside, you have to have a mask on. Anyway, there's all this video of her at a club, just having a great time, just drinking and eating without a mask, etc. And she was asked about it today, and I think that she should be the president of the United States. if we're going to be insane, if we're in the new world where cowboys and whips are happening left and right, and real seemingly adults are treating this as if it's real, then this mayor, this woman, London Breed, I want her to be the next president of the United States. Absolutely. And I want, like I said before, I made a request. I want ICBMs covering the sky.
Location.
Certainly on my own location to begin with. Certainly. Actually, a few, just to be sure. Here's Mayor London Breed. She's asked, somebody said, okay, hey, all of the newspapers wrote about this in San Francisco saying the mayor flouted her own COVID rules. Our kids have to be in school with masks on. Everybody has to wear masks inside. Everybody's being punished. She, though's up there dancing and drinking cocktails, having a great time. And this is her explanation.
I had a good time at the Black Cat, and I think it's sad that this is even a story. The fact is, there was something that was really monumental that occurred, and that is Tony.
Monumental that occurred. Something monumental. Oh my goodness.
Well, if it's that monumental, I'm sure she's justified in flouting the mask
absolutely.
mandate.
And she just says Tony,
the original members, the brothers.
Not the newest iteration, Alice.
The original member.
The original members. The brothers who made Tony. Mm-hmm. Which you don't remember.
I don't know what it is.
But I remember the name of the band, and picking up an album because they were all spelled, Tony was all spelled differently. One was Tony with a Y, and then there was like an I, and then there was another one. And then because at the time, there was a lot of great music out. It was a time where there was a lot of great music out. The late 80s moving into the 90s here. None of the great music was by Tony, I can tell you. They sucked.
London Breed begs to differ.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't realize how monumental their music was, and that their being back together would mean that you would flout. It's worth dying from the coronavirus to see them in person.
Fiel Sadiq and Dwayne Wiggins.
She's still not apologizing, but saying, guys, I had to go because Tony. Now, in any other reality, this would be what she says right before, and thus I've proven I'm incompetent and a hypocrite, and thus I resign. But no.
No, being on the left means never having to say you're sorry.
Oh, we're Tony, and absolutely.
Have not performed in public for, I believe, at least over 20 years.
She's not the PR person for the band, nor their manager, I don't think. And we're still talking about how important this is. The mayor during a crisis, absolutely obsessing over a band that sucked back when they were good.
They are just really some of the most incredible artists in the history of this country and the Bay Area in particular. And the fact that is getting lost here.
The fact
that's gotten lost in the conversation about her mask.
The fact that there are not orderlies violently stuffing her into a padded wagon to bring her to a padded room in a straitjacket is a monumental, unbelievable situation. This person, she went on. There's 8 minutes of her talking about, country, Big Bopper was there.
Very unfortunate, not to mention the incredible trumpeter, Maurice Mo Better Brown, who is just phenomenal. These incredible musicians.
I would have, if I was there, consumed, I would have gone to the gas station, put my credit card in the thing. On the off chances that I got accepted, I would pour gasoline into my mouth for as long as I could possibly take it, and then throw a match in my mouth.
Okay. Well, I have something that will cheer you
Mo
up.
Better Green was there, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
This is the world we live in. This person gets to tell a lot of other people what to do because she's the boss. The guy in the White House is not much different.
Right.
Neither is Fauci.
I mean, Biden's probably less blatantly, openly not giving a bleep and just sticking it in everyone's faces. I think Biden and his comms team still kind of pretend to, feign sanity.
What else is going on? Anything?
So I have something to cheer you up before we go here. Dateline Boston from the patch. Some Boston students ended up taking a party bus, fully equipped with a stripper pole and neon lights, to a field trip last week due to the ongoing nationwide bus driver shortage. The coronavirus pandemic created shortages across the board for many industries and school systems, but one of the more complicated employment shortages came when bus drivers were extremely hard to find across the nation. Jim Myers, an 11th grade AP language and composition teacher at the Brook Charter School in Boston, tweeted last week that due to the national bus driver shortage, my school has hired a party bus with stripper poles to transport us for a field trip. This is not a drill. Though the bus ride was a memorable one, Myers added that the kids didn't really care about the bus, but that the entire day was a phenomenal experience thanks to a lot of people. Yeah. So he took a picture. There's definitely stripper poles. There's definitely neon lights, and that's how they took the 11th grade students on their field trip, honey, in the city of Boston. So
just think what they must have had to price out. Like, they must have said, okay, we can't do buses. What else? Any other ideas? Duck boats? Hearses, hot air balloons. What else?
How do we get
if
them
there
there?
is a God, by the way, Alice, and you're a God person, I want the sky covered in hot air balloons.
Taking kids students to school.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think it's a very timely mode of transportation.
Hey, you know what? As long as you're safe, that's it. And I want the hot air balloons going to schools as we see the contrails of the ICBMs before finally I get my moment of rest.
That's great. I think our daughter's softball practice isn't supposed to be over until 7:30, but it looks dark out, so I'm wondering.
Yeah, there's no lights there, too. So she's been standing there alone probably for fighting off coyotes.
I'm going to head out. But thank you so much, everybody, for another great show. You can find us on Twitter at Burn Barrel Pod. Send us your tips and stories. We're also at Facebook.com/Burn Barrel Podcast, burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com, burnbarrelpodcast.com. You can find our YouTube and our Rumble channels. That's Time Shattuck's Burn Barrel on there for video versions of the show. Like them, share them,
you suggested before
them.
this that you were salty at me. Are you salty at me?
I was, but the show puts me in such a good mood.
What were you salty at me for? What did I do wrong?
Well, you interrupted me teaching the kids something to feed them hot dogs, which was okay, I just went with the flow. It
Which
was
I
cool.
asked you about during and said, by the way, I'm not interrupting and making you mad, right?
No,
and
no,
you said,
no.
No, that's fine.
But I
Right.
I just went with the flow. I rolled with it, right? But then as we're wrapping up the hot dog meal, you come in and you're like, so are we doing a show or what? And I was like, well, I was going to finish the lesson. Like, what?
Speak like an angry Nathan Lane, Alice, when...
But I was hassled by you for the fact that I wasn't prepared to do the show.
Are we doing a show or what? It's not how I even put it.
Well, I was.
You know what this is? This is you trying to rationalize why it's okay that you've been DMing with Bill Malugin. Correct. Yes, you have. I'll have proof next show.
I just said he was a good-looking guy. That's all.
DMing.